coming to Manila. Casting auditions are open for the first season of Drag Race Philippines, the pilot of Drag Den Philippines. The first one is the Philippine franchise of the American reality TV competition RuPaul's Drag Race. Incidentally, an alumna of America's RuPaul's Drag Race is hosting Drag Den Philippines, showing the first ever Philippine Drag Supreme. Pitted against each other. Health Secretary Francisco Duque cries foul over the COA report on the DOH. But COA Chairman Michael Aguinaldo claps back and insists that due process was followed. Survey says almost 3 in 10 Filipinos still have no access at all to vaccination sites. A presidential advisor says the country may have enough vaccines for minors aged 12 to 17 by October. Dozens of Filipinos in Afghanistan are still waiting to be repatriated as the Taliban solidify control over Kabul. And the Philippines is having not just one, but 2 competitions for drag queens. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. Some OFWs in Afghanistan are still waiting to be rescued after the Taliban had retaken the country. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza gives us a front seat to the story.
Para kaming naghahabol sa tumakas sa mga ligaw na bala.
Mark works as a security personnel in a Kabul hotel near the airport. When news of the Taliban takeover broke, he and others have swiftly departed their residences in Afghanistan's capital.
Mula kahapon nang lumabas kami ng hapon, wala na kaming kain. Tubig lang, yun lang.
Mark is joining 4 other Filipinos in a British military flight to Dubai. While they are already safe, he can't help but worry for Pinoys left behind in the war-torn country.
Yung ibang Pilipino na lang naiwan yung nakakaawa kasi surrounded sila ng mga Taliban sa labas ng area nila.
Taliban fighters are taking charge in Kabul, setting up checkpoints near the presidential palace and the Hamid Karzai International Airport, where thousands of civilians have attempted to flee the capital. Some of them even clung to U.S. military transport plane, Reach 871, as it taxied on the runway. Over 600 Afghans pitted themselves on the plane, designed for only 134 soldiers. Children held on to their parents while other refugees used cargo straps as makeshift belts. U.S. President Joe Biden stood by the exit of American troops in Afghanistan.
Here's what I believe to my core. It is wrong to order American troops to step up when Afghanistan's own armed forces would not. They would never have done so while U.S. troops remained in Afghanistan, bearing the brunt of the fighting for them.
At least 12 military flights had taken off on Tuesday, but some 20 Filipinos have yet to depart the Taliban-controlled country. Like Ricky, who's still in Kabul waiting to be rescued.
Dito sa compound namin ng company, safe dito actually. Mas mapayapa ngayon. Wala ka na maririnig ng mga gunshots or whatever na pagsabog.
They've already sought the help of the Philippine Embassy and their employers for repatriation. Ricky has a scheduled initial flight today. For the meantime, all he can do is pray for everybody's safety. Julie Baiza, We Are One News.
Around 80 overseas Filipino workers in Afghanistan are still waiting to be repatriated. Speaking to the big story, Filipino community in Afghanistan President Joseph Glenn Gumpal said that initially the plan was to repatriate them via commercial flights. This was soon scrapped due to the chaos that ensued at the airport. Gumpal said the Philippine embassy is now working on securing chartered flights for OFWs. But because of the ongoing disorder, the embassy has deferred the flight until further notice.
Andito po ako sa Kabul ngayon, mga 80 pa po kami. Ang gagawin na lang ay magre-request na lang ng chartered flight. Kaso ang problema, yung dami ng tao rito, nagkaroon ng pronouncement ang Philippine Embassy na deferred nga raw ang flight until further notice.
But not all OFWs are seeking to be repatriated, as some Filipinos opt to be transferred to other countries where the companies they work for have branches. 8 OFWs chose to stay in Afghanistan and are now temporarily taking shelter at the NATO base.
Ito the last 3 days, wala na kaming tulog kasi siyempre may mga alert na announcement, may mga sirena. Pero ito, since last night, normal na. So far, so good naman. Sa amin, hindi ako masalita tungkol sa mga naiwan sa labas.
Yes.
Kami sa loob ng base, safe kami.
We'll be back with more stories after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III shed tears as he narrated how the Commission on Audit supposedly wronged him and his people. In response, state auditors said they were merely doing their jobs. Marian Enriquez with a report.
Winaharap na ninyo kami. Winaharap na ninyo ang bangal ng DOH. Winaharap ninyo ang lahat ng mga kasama ko dito.
This was Health Secretary Francisco Duque's message to the Commission on Audit after the agency flagged some 67.3 billion pesos in deficiencies in the department's use of COVID-19 funds. During the House panel inquiry, Duque became emotional, saying that he, along with other DOH officials, have lost sleep due to shame.
COA should also consider that we're not operating under normal circumstances. We're operating under a state of public health emergency. Hindi kami makaharap sa mga tao dahil lahat, ang dami-daming nasabi, ang dami-daming paratang. Wala pa rin akong tulog. Ilang gabi na po ito. Kasi this is really unfair, unjust.
The Health Secretary lamented the fact that COA auditors published their findings without, quote, giving DOH enough time to submit necessary documents and rejoinders.
Por Diyos, por Santo, mahawa naman kayo. Kayo nga ang pumunta rito at kayo ang gumawa. I beg for your indulgence. I beg that you give us the time to be able to provide all the documents, to give the rejoinders that are being asked of us. And it is very clear, 60 days. Ganun naglabas na eh. Para bagang ninakawan, winaldas, ninakaw lahat. Ganun eh.
Okay, may I ask?
Salamat po. Ako lang talaga, forgive me, Mr. Chairman. We feel so bad. I feel for my people.
Duque added that his people have been providing clarifications about where those supposedly unobligated funds went, but COA won't acknowledge them. Deputy Speaker Rodante Marcoleta backed Duque, saying they should have been accorded due process. COA Chairman Michael Aguinaldo clarified that they are mandated by law to issue audit reports by June 30 of every year and insisted that due process was followed.
May time-bound rin yan. Now, before an audit report is issued, there is a lot of due process that is actually followed. There are constant meetings with the management. Meron pa yung exit conference. So, it's not correct at all to say na walang due process.
One of the main issues tackled was the unpaid benefits for healthcare workers, which concerned House lawmakers due to plans of mass protests and resignation. Marikina Representative Stella Kimbo cited that the DOH submitted a list showing over 500,000 healthcare workers who are supposed to receive all the benefits, including special risk allowance and active hazard pay. Kimbo questioned why only about 380,000 healthcare workers have actually received these benefits. Over 100,000 healthcare workers still have not received anything. Health Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega said that they initially requested for 32 billion pesos in funds from the Budget Department to cover all the medical frontliner beneficiaries, but only about 13.5 billion pesos was approved.
Hindi ba if you divide 13.5 billion by 562,000, dapat ang bawat isa makakuha ng 25,000 pesos, which I believe is, pwede na. 25,000 is better than nothing. So yan naman ang tanong natin. Bakit hindi nyo na lang distribute ang 25,000 pesos sa kada isa dun sa 562,000 which you intended to cover? Ano nangyari? Who dropped the ball? Yan ang tanong. Saan tayo nagkulang?
I think the ruling states that for the computation of the special risk allowance, it will be over by the number of days that they were directly handling. So it's really a 5,000 over 22 days times the number of days. Kaya may discrepancy po.
The DOH also said some hospitals had a hard time submitting requirements, further affecting the distribution of allowance for healthcare workers. But Aguinaldo said they are willing to ease and simplify these requirements.
Allotment given to them. So yun ang ano ho, that's the reason why not everybody will receive a maximum of 5,000 per month, or in 6 months 30,000.
Dahil kung meron, some requirements that are perhaps not apt under the present circumstances, pwede naman kaming sulatan at tanungin kung pwedeng i-relax yung ibang requirements. Obviously, definitely dapat may resibo yan, dapat makita.
The House Committee on Public Accounts will resume its inquiry into the COA report on Thursday, August 19. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
About 3 in 10 Filipinos report having zero access to COVID-19 vaccination sites. Vaccine hesitancy has been touted as one of the major reasons that we haven't reached population protection yet. But the results of the second quarter SWS survey suggests that other factors might also be at play. The survey found that 68% of adult Filipinos have easy access to a COVID-19 vaccination site, while 3% have difficult access to one. That leaves 29%, or about 3 in 10 Filipinos, without access at all to any inoculation sites. Furthermore, 51%, or a majority of Filipinos, consider the vaccination in their own barangay as slow. This means there are Filipinos and residents who are willing to get vaccinated for COVID-19 but have no means to secure their shots. There may be enough Pfizer vaccines for minors aged 12 to 17 by October. In an interview with Sa Totoo Lang, Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion said that vaccine czar Carlito Galvez promised that vaccines may be allocated to children in October. He added that Moderna has already been approved for children abroad and that it's only a matter of time before it's approved in the Philippines. Recall that the government announced that they will start vaccinating the pediatric sector by September.
So, sinabi ko kay Secretary Galvez na pwede mag-tripartite agreement tayo sa Pfizer vaccines. Pero ang sabi niya, by October marami ng Pfizer na dadating, and he believes that he can allocate to our children 12 to 17 these vaccines. So, hihintayin natin rin yan, no?
Meanwhile, vaccine expert panel head Dr. Nina Gloriani maintained that vaccines are effective even against the highly infectious Delta variant. She also reiterated that vaccines only promise protection against a severe form of infection and that antibodies aren't the only basis for protection against COVID-19.
Ang protection against the severe form ay nasa mga 80 and even yung iba 90% pa rin. Kung sa severe form, oo. Bumababa sa mga variants, lalo na sa Delta. Oo, pero meron pang sufficient kasi hindi naman antibodies lang ang basehan ng ating immunity.
Local queens, it's time to get sickening. Not one but 2 drag reality shows are coming to Manila. Casting auditions are open for both the first season of Drag Race Philippines and the pilot of Drag Den Philippines. The first one is the Philippine franchise of American reality TV competition RuPaul's Drag Race. Incidentally, an alumna of America's RuPaul's Drag Race is hosting Drag Den Philippines, a show aimed at finding the first ever Philippine Drag Supreme. While some worry that these two shows might be pitted against each other, Drag Den Philippines host Manila Luzon says it's good for Filipino queens to have more than one avenue to showcase their charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us again later at 10 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.